Hello, my name is Dr. Dennis Dilday. I'm a chiropractor in Everett, Washington. Today I'm going to shock you with information that could potentially save lives. So let's start with a simple question. Did you know that almost 1 out of 4 people in America are either diabetic or pre-diabetic? According to the CDC, 57 million Americans are pre-diabetic and 24 million are diabetic. This disease does not generate fear because it can simmer for years, damaging the heart, kidney, eyes, and other organs, and often only surfaces in middle age. It is accepted by many doctors as a simple part of the aging process. There should be an outcry, as in the next 24 hours, 2,200 people will be diagnosed with diabetes. Over 500 will die from it, and almost 220 will go blind or have an amputation. There are more complications, including heart disease, high blood pressure, nerve system damage, liver disease, and Alzheimer's. Why is there an epidemic of diabetes? While there's a genetic component to diabetes, you have full control over whether you get diabetes or not, based on your choices of diet and exercise. The core problem has to do with people's eating habits and those consequences, including excessive weight, especially abdominal fat, lack of nutrients as people eat junk food and processed foods, and a general lack of exercise. You can see how our food habits have changed over time with just sugar and grain consumption. Almost a 40-fold increase in sugar alone. If you wonder where all the sugar is coming from, here is a clue. Just look at the typical foods people eat and you will see that they all have a high carbohydrate content. This can be just as unhealthy as refined sugar if overeaten. Bad food habits induce stresses on the human body that promote all kinds of disease. Junk food will increase consumption of refined sugar, sodium, and saturated fat, while it reduces consumption of vegetables, fiber, key minerals, omega-3 fats, vitamins, antioxidants, and beneficial probiotic bacteria. The other side of the coin is the increase in portion size and calorie intake since the 1970s. Portion sizes were about half of what they are today. How have our eating habits affected us? Look at our weight 20 years ago. No state had a high obesity rate, and most were less than 10%. Today, no state has an obesity rate below 10%, and most are over 25%. In addition, our healthcare system is not promoting prevention. We are waiting for disease conditions to set in, and then we manage the disease. This is why some experts are predicting that America will go bankrupt because of healthcare costs. We're already seeing the effect of a disease care system on companies and on individuals. The status quo is not sustainable, especially when the CDC is predicting that if nothing changes, out of all infants born today, 1 out of 3 will become diabetic as adults. The bad news, there's no silver bullet to solve this problem. The good news is that diabetes is preventable. Let's analyze the progression of diabetes. As we said, for most people it starts with bad eating habits that result in excess weight and nutritional deficiencies. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, where people start noticing high levels of blood sugar resulting from defects in insulin production and receptor sensitivity. This causes sugar to build up in the body. In conjunction with these changes, people start noting elevated lipid levels such as triglycerides and LDL cholesterol. However, years before people are diagnosed with diabetes, they are in a pre-diabetic zone. But what is crazy about our healthcare system is that the typical physician will monitor elevated blood sugar levels and wait for people to become diabetic. Then they will begin giving them medication. What is not explained is that for about 90% of the people who do go onto conventional care and diabetic medication, the consequences are not prevented. So what is conventional care for diabetes and prediabetes? Some will be prescribed high blood pressure medications and or statin drugs. Once diabetic, people are put on certain diabetic medication and often given an eating plan that may be useless. In fact, it can even be dangerous for people with diabetes. These steps do not get the condition under control. Under 12% of diabetics being treated with medication have their blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol under control. The simplest way to beat this disease is to prevent it. This was proven in a landmark study in 2001 that showed pre-diabetes can be prevented from becoming diabetes with weight management, correct eating habits, and regular exercise. The easiest way to determine if you are pre-diabetic is to answer a questionnaire available with this presentation that will highlight the probability of pre-diabetes. So how far can pre-diabetes reversal be accomplished? Or so how can pre-diabetes reversal be accomplished? First, we need to get rid of abdominal fat, as it drives metabolic syndrome. People will then see immediate changes as the damaging inflammatory chemicals released by fat cells are reduced. To make all of this possible, a structured system needs to be used. Our system works like this. Participants eat according to a meal plan that puts their body into a biochemical state that will burn excess body fat, especially abdominal fat, while not having any hunger. In between meals, a nutritional snack is taken to prevent any cravings, since this is an elimination diet. 7 different meal plans are provided so that there are 7 suggested breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. That way you do not get bored with what you eat. If the suggestion of 60 grams of beef or the 35 grams of spinach for dinner is not to your fancy, you will have a simple way of substituting the protein or carbohydrate as shown here. A 4-page symptoms questionnaire is completed before this eating plan is started, and the same questionnaire is completed at the end of 5 weeks. 14 health conditions are evaluated and recorded here. The results of the questionnaire may show 4 severes, 6 moderates, and 4 mild conditions. However, the challenge is to know the root cause of the symptoms, as they could be due to many factors. As you go onto this elimination diet and lose excess fat, the changes in the responses to the same questionnaire 5 weeks later can give great insight as to the cause of your symptoms. The new results may now change to 1 severe, 2 moderates, and 4 mild. To a trained specialist, this provides a wonderful insight into the root cause of your symptoms and a roadmap of the steps needed to prevent diabetes and promote wellness. Abdominal fat status and how much more weight needs to be lost, for example. Blood sugar support needs if unhealthy eating habits are resumed, for example. Existence of potential food sensitivities or allergies that may need addressing, or the possibility of chronic conditions needing attention. If these wellness markers are ignored, over time they will become disease conditions. A great example of this is diabetes, which is costing America $174 billion a year because people are waiting to become a diabetic instead of preventing it. So don't be the last one to jump on the prevention bandwagon. The greatest gift of health you can give yourself is to determine if you are pre-diabetic, and if so, prevent it. Thank you for listening. To learn more about diabetes prevention, call 425-348-5207.